Best case, worst case scenarios for Harrison Ingram, Riley's guy from North Carolina. Um, we're doing one of these for each of the top 75 prospects. Not what we think necessarily is the most likely outcome for a player, but if everything clicks, what his best case is. If things fall apart, what his worst case is. We each have one selection in each category. We don't know what they are, so you're gonna see our reactions as you hear them. Um, and then we're going to come up with a consensus at the end of this and determine a firm best and worst case comp for Harrison Ingram. Riley, I want to hear your best case first, since I know he is your guy.
I said Grant Williams, and let me get the good Boston
Okay.
rendition of Grant Williams. Uh, the archetype there is versatile defender, spot up shooter, smart passer. I think that's the ideal role for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully on a good team. I will say Grant. Neither of them are elite athletes either. They both probably have some of the same like. Well, yeah, I guess Grant's pretty mobile, but yeah, not especially explosive.
Mm.
Grant has the advantage with him being like barrel chested. He can match up with
Yeah.
fives where I want to see Ingram even at least match up well with fours before we say like, oh yeah, he can guard fives and spots as well. But yeah, if his career plays out well, I think that be play for 8 to 10 years as just a really really good role player.
I like that one a lot, and I may seed it. But I have one I like a lot. And I actually have three that I thought about and I picked one. We're gonna go over all three. Do you want to hear the one I picked first or the two that
Yeah,
I picked?
let's hear the one you picked.
The one I picked was a Slim Boris Diaw. On
I
the
like.
on those Spurs
I'll let you make your
teams,
case.
on
I'm
those
not.
Spurs teams, he was somebody who did a little bit of everything offensively. He was a secondary playmaker, sometimes primary, depending if Tony Parker was on the court or not. He could shoot the three. He rebounded okay. And now we think of in our age, think of like the old fat Boris Diaw at the end that was like, oh, he's Boris Diaw doing stuff on the court. But Boris Diaw came in the league as a point guard and kind of couldn't do that. There was a stretch in the middle of his career where he was really good role player as like a 6'8", 6'9", 3'4". I think Harrison Ingram's ceiling could be that. Was an okay defender, not the best. I think Ingram's a better defender than Diaw was, but he certainly held his own on that end in his peak. So I picked Boris Diaw.
Limbo Rusty. All right, let me hear the two that didn't make the cut.
Um, we talked about this a bit on the player comp video, but I think there's some Dylan Brooks potential there. Just with his head screwed on straight, I don't think he's a psycho like Dylan Brooks is. He may not be the scorer off the bounce that Dylan Brooks is, but I think body type and role is generally there.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was he is not the defender, but I like a bigger Drew Holiday, or somebody who can just do everything, do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you need him to do. I think that's Ingram's key at the next level. He's bigger than Drew, and again, I don't think he's as good of a defender, certainly,
Mm-hmm.
as Drew is, perhaps the best defender in the league. Um, but like a bigger Drew Holiday.
Think of those three. I do like the DL one the best. I think you went with the best one.
I think so
And
too, but I like the Grant Williams a little bit better.
I feel confident in Grant, but let's go worst
Yeah.
case.
Worst case. Let me hear your worst case.
So I went with another wing who once played at Stanford and never shed the stench. I went with KZ Akpala. I don't know if you remember anything
Yes, I
about him. He
do.
was because he sort of was given the keys at Stanford and was really their only creator. Um, I would say a little more like vertically explosive than Ingram, but some of the same athletic limitations. Apollo liked to post up smaller guards as well, which is what Ingram did that plenty at UNC this past year, and he could pass a little bit too. But yeah, I think with Akpala, despite his length, he never really had like the lateral mobility, the athleticism to stick in the league. And I do think there's a worst case world where Ingram, the athleticism just doesn't translate and he's out of the league in a couple years.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, he is honestly somebody I had a hard time coming up with like a worst case comp for, because I don't think he's gonna bottom out. If he does, it's because he's good at everything, not great at anything, right? And there's just
Mm-hmm.
nothing about his game that kind of stands out. Um, I don't like this a lot. But Trayvon Blewett came to mind for me, and different games, Blewett was more of a scorer than Ingram
Mm-hmm.
was, or Ingram is. But similar size, came into the league, and Ingram, I think, is, if I remember correctly, is a more highly thought of prospect than Blewett. Um, but Blewett just like his best trait was scoring, but he wasn't like an NBA level scorer, and it became like
Right.
okay. And Ingram, I think, is at risk of that happening, where if like his defense is okay, his passing is okay, and it's just like okay, then what? It's one of those things like what is it that you do here?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think I don't think things break wrong, but if things break wrong, I think that's how they break wrong.
Ralph, I like both my comps better.
I like both your comps much better as well.
Let's
He was
go.
one I had a hard time with. I think if you take pieces of Drew, take pieces of a Sane Dylan Brooks, take pieces of a Slim Boris Dia, that's him. But I couldn't find the one guy. I couldn't find the one guy to sum it up. But we'll go with that. Grant Williams and Casey Okpala. Pretty wide range of outcomes. Um, but not bad. And not bad for Harrison Ingram for sure.
The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.